Gasser Handbally here, also known as Shocker Boy 001 on PB Nation. I've had a couple of questions and requests from some of the members on the forum to do some videos over the LUXE. I'm going to go over some basic stuff, a lot of stuff I've seen on Nation over the last couple weeks and months. In my experience overall with the LUXE, I've been shooting LUXEs since early 2009. By far one of my favorite platforms. I originally started here. This is my first LUXE. It's a 1.0. And I know you get a lot of questions of people asking, how do you know it's a 1.0? How do you know it's 2.0 and OLED? With the OLED guns, it's super easy to tell. Obviously, you have an OLED frame. With the 1.0s, a good way to tell is the 1.0s were the only generation to have a silver backplate for the power button. Also, if you look at the front of the guns here, you can see it slightly. There's an indentation for where the LUXE badge originally went for the 1.0s. There was a metal badge that said LUXE on it that was here. After having this gun for so many years, it's fallen off and just never found the time or the need to replace it. Also with the 1.0s, that's different. The 1.0s, you're going to get magnetic eye covers. There's no indentations or anything and such to retain the eye covers other than the magnets. Those slide back into place and drop right in. The issue that people were having with these 1.0s, though, however, was over time, sometimes the eye covers would fall off. What we've seen from eye covers popping off is there's an SFT in front here. It's a 1770 HBNR green O-ring. And sometimes that would pop out or get really dirty and really damaged, and it wouldn't allow the gun to seal properly, so you'd get blowback and thus blowing the eye covers off. Another thing we were seeing too is people would not clean their eye covers. You can see mine are nice and clean. Detents are pretty new. I did replace everything at Virginia Beach. However, my eye covers are nice and clean, the foamy's in place, and there's no gunk in there. The problem was a lot of times you get a lot of gunk buildup, and thus would be getting between the magnets and could cause them not to sit as tight as they should. With this gun, however, you will notice a couple things I've done to it. It does have a Violent Product Sith trigger, along with the 2.0 board. I'm just going to go over some stuff for you guys, like cold weather tips. I know it's getting cold out there in Ohio. It's currently in the 40s, 50s. It's only going to get colder. I'm going to go over my 1.0 as well as the LUXE 1.5. The 1.5 is very similar in body to the 2.0 and 2.0 OLED, with the exception that the 1.0 and 1.5 came with an unsprung power core with a black firing can. Also on the 1.5s, it was the only version of the LUXE to use the 1/16 Allen key retention screw for the eye covers. This got away with all issues of eye covers popping off, and as you've seen in the 2.0s and 2.0 OLEDs, they've now gone to the latch system for the eye covers. But with cold weather tips, I've been asked a couple times. I've answered a lot of questions on PB Nation about cold weather tips for your LUXEs. As you can see on the 1.5, I do run the 1.0 core. On the 1.0, I do have a 2.0 core. Now with these 2.0 cores, this is a factory LUXE 2.0 core. I recommend for all LUXEs to run factory internals. And what I mean by factory internals is from the factory, stock bolt, if you have a 2.0 bolt, so if your gun is a 2.0 or a newer, you will have the 2.0 firing power core. So you're going to have a silver firing can, a black sprung bolt, and a black bolt guide. And the big issue I see with a lot of LUXEs, especially now coming towards the holiday season, is people get used guns. And a lot of the times when you get a used gun, people put the cheapest O-rings they can find, whether that be those Buna O-ring kits, the 5x, 10x rebuild kits, and those just don't work. Personally, and my advice to everyone is to use factory LUXE O-rings. They last extremely long time if you take care of them. The only time I ever replace them is if they're leaking or they're excessively worn, and you can tell by such things like I will replace my SFT O-ring probably once a year, simply because that O-ring is sitting in the front of the breech, and any gunk and debris that goes through your loader and into the breech is going to go past that O-ring, so you can get a lot of just stuff on it. But what I do for cold weather, what I recommend is both these guns have Parker solenoids, and with Parker solenoids, you'll have your black DLX solenoid. It's all black with a silver top. That is a Parker. The Parkers are set to run at 16 milliseconds of dwell with your feather touch in. Now for this gun, with the 1.0 core, I run my gun during the winter. I keep my feather touch in, and that's up for you to play with. I found that it works fine with my feather touch in. I up my dwell to 18 milliseconds, and I back my manifold screw out to flush and then go 1.5 turns in. That seems to get the gun to work very well. I have my dwell set to 18, as I said. My first shot drop set to 20, and the gun works flawlessly.